Never give up on yourself. You know, we've all done some pretty horrendous things that we would regret or we would never, obviously, never do again. And you have to look at why we did those things. What is it that motivated us? And you know, it was always something on the outer. Uh, Wanting someone to like us, getting rid of someone, wanting their stuff or their money, wanting their position, their fame. You know, just mind things, getting us, that's keeping people in a state of poverty. And to me, a poverty consciousness, and always they've said, oh, the poverty consciousness in religion is really good. No, so then someone has to have the wealth consciousness that would be then, of course, the big, you know, the Catholic Church, of course, because they got all this goodies, they got all this stuff, got all the rules, made all the little paper things, you know, called the papal. So that's, anyway, they've got all the stuff. And then the other people is, you got to be happy you're poor, because then you keep serving and giving in church, and we get richer and richer and richer. Because why? And nobody actually thought anything about it, because, oh, they're representatives of God. Well, so are you. And when you get that, you don't need to have someone between you and the divine, because the divine is with you all the time. You're part of that. And one of the ways you can recognize that is you have compassion for others. You actually really want to help others. And you actually care for them. And you want to be careful. Don't go into empathy, because then you take on their pain and their suffering as if that's going to help them. It does not. It just adds to the suffering level. And you want to go beyond, above that pain pleasure kind of a place where you are the witness and you can observe, first of all, how your mind operates, and watch it and just notice. Then you'll know. Make that a real purpose there to do that, and how you function like that, and what triggers you, knocks you off, and you know what your story is, what you've been using, da-da. You need to notice that whatever you've been taught or learned more than likely is not true. And there is an absolute truth. And that absolute truth is who you are. And the absolute truth is the divine, is God, is the supreme being. And that if there's many beings, there have to be a supreme being. And the supreme being in this false reality is someone who lords it over others. But in our sense of the divine, it's what we are all, who are and what we are all part of, that we are sourced from, that we are also feeding back into in this ever ongoing love affair. And we need to practice that now. And what happens is when people live in the fear zone and they get into difficulties, I wanted to write this down, they start describing all their handicaps and all their reasons why and all their excuses. And they don't make effort in the direction of where they want to go. And that's what I've learned. You know, people can say, oh, I'm really sorry, please forgive me, I'm really sorry. Well, first of all, I'm not angry at anybody, because what am I going to be angry and hate you for? Because that's just going to hurt me. But I could notice, do I want to be around you or not? And that means because we tend to take on the consciousness of those that we are with, because that's part of our nature. We're very receptive. And it's also a wonderful quality, because it keeps us open-minded and growing and learning and creative. And yet we also have to have what some would call the masculine, and the other being the feminine, if you want labels and names, but they're aspects of ourselves. And these are, and yet they're just aspects of those aspects, are parts of us expressing, you see. And when we buy into the ignorance of who we are and agree with all of the limitations and the lack and all, like say, you know, people say, well, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, yeah, it does, made of paper and, you know, and gemstones that who knows could have come from giant, I kind of interested, trees or giant mountains or wherever they came from, or veins, maybe a liquid. I don't know. Just interesting. And then this reality is a copy, but not even a copy. Yes, I like a copy of another reality, and that reality is in our heart. It's where we really come from. It's who we are, and that does not mean it's a void. No, it might appear as a void in this reality, but this is in this dimension, or however that is can be measured. You can't be measured, and so there is the beauty that is here. Obviously, is a creation because it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, as cycles of time, we call that, you see. And where something begins, it continues, and then it ends. And something else begins, it continues, and it ends. But you see, we can watch that and we can observe that. But when you also get into start to realize some of your past lives, whether that was really your life or something you accepted or something else, you still had this experience. And that experience, you have to take a look at what that is and what that was, and how we have over our experiences in the time game. We have all that in the so-called memory, which some say is wiped, but there's yet that deeper, that memory that is always there. And there is that need, in a sense, to be home. Because, you're even born into the family going, how did I get with these people? Where'd they come from? We're all so different. We're not like, well, yeah, that's part of how we all are. That's the way it goes. We're not cookie cutter, and if you are, there's something weird. So what happens is when people just, start giving reasons and excuses because it runs in the family or of the, all of these things that we're using as our excuses to limit ourselves and to keep ourselves in a state of lack, a state of fear, self-doubt, and using this continually to hold ourselves in. And people say, well, they're afraid of our power. We're afraid of our power. No, we're actually afraid of the power of someone or something else, believing ourselves to be powerless, and giving others that state of being powerful and more powerful. And yet all living entities, we are equal in who and what we are as part and parcel of the divine. And yet when we give our power to someone else to make them the author of our lives or the Lord of our lives, rather than that inner divine, the word Lord also means law in a sense, and a law would be like the impersonal aspect. And then if you have the impersonal, you do have the personal. So you have the personal and the impersonal aspects. You have, say, love as the personal, and the law, or how life operates, or how it is being produced or generated in this reality, is called the law, or the principles of this manifestation, this creation. So when we get to the point to realize we're part of the Creator, so therefore we're many creators and we're doing this automatically, we don't need to give up. And what happens with people in a weakened state, they give up because they're always thinking about what'll happen if I fail. What'll happen if I fail? What'll happen if I fail? Well, you already have now, buddy. That's nothing you contemplate. There is no success or failure. That's always, it's just put on you to weaken you from anybody else. You've got to be a success. Don't want to be a failure. Want everybody to like you. Don't want anybody to hate you. On and on. All right. So, and then those who blindly believe in the destiny from their astrology or their psychic or anybody else, yes, these have a place and they have a function in certain things, and they could be tools and steps, but you don't give your power to any of those. The stars, really? Any of them. And when you keep your power, it doesn't mean you're depowering others, because they remain as they truly are, authentically, just as you will. So when things get difficult, don't just give up. Don't just agree and say, oh, I guess it's not possible and I can't do that. No. If that's as strong in your heart and who you are, you've got to be strong in yourself. And that comes from using this time game to study, to learn, to be, knowledge and to apply it and to then manifest even in this reality that which you need. It will come by grace for how you can best bring forth your spiritual, divine, eternal nature. In the now. Not waiting till you die and then you get rewarded in heaven, or you're going to be bad, you're going to go to hell. It's happening now. And it's a mind, that's the mind. And you can go to these mind realms, they're all over the place. In fact, it was kind of ancient, some of the ancient mystics, they could create these entire cities that people would live in and believe they were in, but out of their mystic powers and abilities. And so, but when people aren't tuned into the mystic, they must do this by science and force and fear and scarcity. You see? Now, how do you transcend that? Whew. Remember the unsinkable Molly Brown? I tell you, when I was really down, a long time ago, in my mind, and then in my emotions and all that, I watched the unsinkable Molly Brown probably 35, maybe 40 times. Brought me back. Good old Debbie Reynolds. But I'll tell you, you do what it takes, you see, to bring you to and keep you in that state of continual knowingness and beingness of who you are. You can witness, but you stay in the divine. And you are in pleasure in every moment of now, and witness the miracles. Accept your good deeply and profoundly. And then say